Hey everyone, I'm Laura Adams, and this is the Money Girl Podcast, where my mission is to give you the knowledge, resources, and motivation to manage your money the best way possible and create a richer life. I'm so glad you're joining me, and I want to welcome you to the Money Girl community if you're new to the show. And if you're a longtime listener, I'm so glad to have your support. So this week, I want to talk about something that's a little bit more serious. I think as we're all grappling with how to stay healthy, both physically and financially during the pandemic, it's really important to make sure that you and your family have the right emergency documents. And this is something that a lot of people put off until it's really too late. So no matter if you are living in a coronavirus hotspot or you don't know anybody who has contracted COVID, I don't think there's ever been a better time to review your legal documents or think about creating them if you haven't thought about this before. So this show is for you, whether you've already got all of your emergency documents in place, whether you've been meaning to create them for some time, or you've never even thought about the topic of emergency documents. This is for you, so stay with me. We're going to cover different types of emergency documents that you need, why you need them, why you may need to update them if you've already got them. And if you get COVID or any other unexpected illness or get into an accident, these documents help you manage your life. They help you manage your finances and essential decisions that you've got to make. It's going to give you a lot more clarity and less stress if you have these documents in place during an emergency. So instead of being caught off guard during a difficult time, consider if you should have 5 of the legal documents that we're going to cover. The first one you've probably heard of, it's the last will and testament. And the purpose of a will is pretty simple. It's just to communicate your final wishes after you die. Unfortunately, there are lots of people who do not have a will because they mistakenly believe it's something that's only for old people or for rich people. They're for everyone. The fact is, every adult should have a will. It doesn't matter if you've got lots of assets or very little. If you die without a will, the courts will decide what happens to your possessions and even to the people in your life, like a minor child, not your family. And once you have a will, you should not forget to update it periodically to make sure that it addresses all your wishes, all your assets, and all your beneficiaries. In fact, my husband and I recently went through all of our documents and made sure that our will in particular was up to date. It had actually been quite a while since we had taken a look at it, and we made some really important changes. So don't forget that periodically you need to review these documents. Critical life events such as getting married, divorced, having a child, losing a spouse or partner, and a lot of other things should trigger you to update your will. But it's really a good thing to just consider maybe every year, maybe every January. It's part of something that you just remember to think about and just think if there are any things that you need to change in your documents. Now, if you're starting from scratch, and you want to make a will, make an inventory of your assets. So these are your bank accounts, your investments, any real estate that you own, vehicles, expensive belongings, and maybe even sentimental possessions that you have, and decide what you want to happen to these items when you're no longer around. You can list beneficiaries for specific items, like maybe who gets a piece of heirloom jewelry that's been in your family, or who you want to get your artwork collection. You can also create distribution percentages, such as 50% of the value of your assets go to your partner and 50% would go to your child or to a friend. There are a lot of different ways that you can, decide how to distribute your assets. And in addition to dealing with your possessions, a will allows you to name a guardian for your minor children. And don't forget to leave instructions for what you would want to happen to your pets. and things like digital assets, intellectual property, and any business assets that you have. You can create a plan for your funeral, such as where you want to be buried and whether you want your organs donated. Someone must carry out your final wishes and all the legal details, so you can name a designated family member, friend, or an attorney to be your executor. This person will handle all the arrangements. And depending on the size of your estate, this can be a pretty challenging and time-consuming job. So make sure that the person you designate knows that they're designated and you know that they're capable and willing to do the job. The bottom line is that having a will makes your death easier on those you love. It can help keep peace in your family by settling disagreements, minimizing bureaucracy, and even saving your heirs from unnecessary expenses. You actually don't need a lawyer to create a will, but I would say if you have a high net worth or many different types of assets, it's a really good idea to hire an attorney. They're going to think about things that you need to include in your will that you may not think about. But if you can't afford an attorney, having even just a simple template for your will is better than nothing. And you can download those from a lot of different legal websites. So just do a search for free online will template, and that might be a good place to start. All right, the second type of legal document that you may need is a living will. This is a document that specifies what you'd want to happen regarding your end-of-life care. So this would help if you were unresponsive for an extended period or maybe in the final stages of a terminal condition. Having a living will makes your wishes clear when you're facing death. It's a pretty essential guide for family and doctors who might need to know if you would want to extend your life by artificial means or to die without any interventions. The third type of document is kind of similar to a living will. It's called a healthcare proxy. This document allows you to designate someone to make medical decisions for you when you can't. And you might also hear it called a healthcare power of attorney or a healthcare surrogate. Imagine that you're in an accident or you come down with a severe illness and you become mentally incapacitated. Having a healthcare proxy allows that person or even multiple people that you choose to be your representative to make medical decisions for you or even to admit you into a healthcare facility. You might want to name two proxies just in case one of them isn't available when you need them. So consider who you would trust with your care and discuss the responsibilities of this and also your wishes with those people. Also, some hospitals will not allow medical professionals to disclose any information about you, even to your healthcare proxy, unless you have something called a HIPAA medical privacy release. HIPAA stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability. And having that release means that your family can speak to your doctor about your medical situation without creating a legal problem for the doctor. So this is really important. Definitely consider having a HIPAA release in addition to a healthcare proxy and a living will. All right, the fourth legal document that you need is a power of attorney. Even if you don't ever need a designated proxy to make medical decisions for you, you likely need someone that you trust to help with other types of decisions, such as managing your finances or even legal affairs. Creating a power of attorney allows another person to stand in for you as an agent if you're incapable of making routine transactions like paying your bills or signing contracts. There are different kinds of powers of attorney, but the most common one is called a durable power of attorney. You can use it anytime you're not capable of doing something like selling real estate, making insurance claims, filing taxes, or even making any type of financial decision. You can also create one or more limited powers of attorney. These name people to act on your behalf for very specific transactions during a limited period. So having a power of attorney is how the financial end of your life can run smoothly if you become incapacitated. And it's also a tool for giving someone the authority to manage nearly any aspect of your life if you're simply unavailable or you don't have time to handle it yourself. And the last type of document we'll talk about is a child care authorization. If you're the parent of a young child, you should have this document. It will address a variety of situations, such as whether your child's school or daycare can release them to another individual. You can use this authorization to allow someone else, such as a partner or a nanny, to temporarily make decisions for your child in your unexpected absence. So even though your kids may be home right now due to the pandemic, make sure that you've got this authorization in place for a point in time when they do go back to school. A common question or pushback that I hear is, well, Laura, I'm married, so doesn't that mean that my spouse can just take care of all these issues? And yes, a spouse may be able to make some crucial decisions for you, but you could both die or become incapacitated at the same time. Also, think about this. Let's say your spouse is in a coma in the hospital due to a disease or accident. If you had a financial hardship and you needed to sell some of your assets, such as jointly owned investments or real estate, it could be very difficult because each of you would have to authorize the transaction. And if your spouse was unable to do that, you would not be able to make some really important financial moves. The way to get around this is for married couples and domestic partners to give each other power of attorney. You avoid having financial restrictions that way during a crisis. And each of you should have your own wills and your own healthcare proxies. Also, consider what would happen to your minor children if you and your spouse were in an accident together. It's really terrible to think about, but you've got to name a guardian in your will so that the court doesn't appoint one for you that you may not like. And another common question is, where do I keep all these important documents? Well, you want to keep the original signed documents in a very safe place. You do definitely need to maintain the originals somewhere, like an attorney's office or at home in a fireproof safe or even in a bank safe deposit box. But you also want to keep copies at home. You want to keep them just in case you need them at night or on the weekend. You'll have copies there for you. And you can also scan and upload them to a safe cloud-based storage service such as Dropbox or Evernote so that you've got them in multiple places. Do yourself and your family a favor by getting all your emergency documents created as soon as possible. And if you've already got them, as I mentioned, put a reminder on your calendar to make any necessary updates each year or every few years. It's so much easier to prepare for a potential disaster than it is to recover from one that blindsides you. After a tragedy occurs, it may be too late to make critical decisions. So it's really important to get ahead of that, and you're going to feel so much more at ease knowing that you're prepared for some unexpected issue. Your emergency documents make sure that you and your children's future is protected no matter what happens. I know this is a pretty heavy topic to think about, especially right now with so much going on. But as I mentioned, I think it's also a really good time to get all of these emergency documents in place. So I hope it's been helpful. If you have a money question or a dilemma, a great way to keep the money conversation going is within my private Facebook group called Dominate Your Dollars. To request an invitation, simply visit Dominate Your Dollars on Facebook, or you can send me a text message for immediate access. Just text the word dollars, DOLLARS, to the number 33444. I hope to see you in the group. You can also visit lauradadams.com to email me a money question. You can even record a voice message that I may be able to use in the show. And if you don't want your voice on the show, you can just tell me that in the message. Just call 302-364-0308 24/7 to leave your message. Money Girl is produced by the audio wizard Steve Rickyberg with editorial support from Karen Hertzberg. If you've been enjoying the podcast, we would love you to take a moment to rate and review it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to shows. That's an easy way to give back and show your support. You might also like the backlist episodes and show notes that are always available at quickanddirtytips.com. That's all for now. I'll talk to you next week. Until then, here's to living a richer life.